sexy person on it.
Well, I want to set this up again because this is sort of something really important when we all saw what happened and what unfolded on January 6th. Some of us witnessed this from our television and couldn't understand the attack on our country. But Michael Fanone was there, and he saw it up close and personal. And we all know what we heard, we don't know his feelings, everything that he went through in that attack. We have to remember to keep those kind of incidents, tell the truth about it, and Michael has spent his time talking about it, and that's very traumatizing, and I'm so grateful you're here, Michael.
Thank you.
Denver himself, and Denver, because Denver after dark, he also is a distiller with his wife Christine, and he has a lot of Bigfoot stories and conspiracy stories. And they're really important because Denver's taught me how to see through the noise, his background in intelligence. So he saw January 6th from a different perspective. He was on the committee and investigated. He has the receipts, and they're pretty damn scary when you read the book, The Breach, and he'll be talking about that. But I want to just open that up. Let's start, Lauren, with maybe some questions to Michael, and then we'll see where this panel goes.
Yeah, guys. Great talking to you. My dad was a cop, my boyfriend's a cop. I love you. That's a lot. Me too. Where do you think we're headed? I mean, you have been through so much, and so have you. Obviously, it is hard to Denver to be in a situation where you're in a party that no longer stands for what you stand for. Do you think we can get out of this, guys? I'll start with Michael. Do you think that after everything you've seen and everything you've heard, where are we at? And do you think it could turn around?
I mean, the short answer to that question is yes. This is going to take, going to take a tremendous amount of work on behalf of the American people. We need to have rooms filled like this all across the country every day of the year before we get things to not back to normal, but to a better place. The one silver lining I think about this administration is that it has so quickly adversely impacted so many Americans that I really do believe, the conversations that I have all across the country, that people are starting to wake up to the injustice of this administration, the cruelty of this administration, and the brutality of this administration, and also, unlawful, unconstitutional.
Denver, you've seen what's happening. We all have. What do you think? I mean, do you think it could turn around? And if so, when?
I don't want to be Denver Downer. I think a lot of it has to do, it's been 10 or 11 years, Mike and I have been through some things. I'm getting sued for tens of millions of dollars for my book. We both have had to not only deal with, directed attacks on our character, but also on people who are such a low moral character. It's very difficult for you not to get angry and want to fight back against every bully that you see. The other thing that's affecting me every time I'm near Mike is I was one of the first to see the videos of what happened that day because I was a senior technical advisor on the January 6th committee. So sitting up here with Mike and knowing what happened and knowing that it was our team that found the Meadows text messages, it was our team that saw the phone records, it's very difficult for me to take this administration seriously when they talk about the rule of law, which is why I really think that when I look out, how many people are out here today? Like 600 out there today, is that correct? Because I'm going to get to Tom Perriello in a second. I know it's going to be a weird transition, so bear with me. So there were about 36 congressional representatives that were actively involved in the Meadows text messages of what happened that day on January 6th. Those congressional members, I've talked to, and Mike has also, we've talked to people that we can't even believe would ignore or try not to pay attention to what happened that day. That lawlessness is so specific and direct. Anybody who tries to gaslight you is literally full of shit. And that's so... It started with me with QAnon. As you guys know, I was the first sitting Republican to officiate a same-sex wedding. And when that happened, I thought it would be something that sort of broke the mold, or something that, but instead, it got my face ripped off, and the people that I married accused of some of the most heinous things you could ever imagine. I was called the tool of the Antichrist. If I was, I'd have a lot more money. And then also, there were some other things that happened too, where those two individuals were completely pilloried for what they were. And to make a long story short, I think you're starting to see a switch in some morality. When Tom was up here talking about the polling and what was happening in the 5th District, I'm a former Republican congressman in the 5th District of Virginia. Tom is a former Democratic congressman in the 5th District of Virginia. He went through the Tea Party, right, and trying to get health care for people. I went through QAnon, right, and I was called the tool of the Antichrist. And by the way, our family was also funneling money for George Soros to our distilleries. I didn't even know. But if there's 600 people out here and you guys are hitting on your phone when you see somebody tied in polling and you're not giving from $1 to $100, that is what I need you guys to do. And Tom did not know I was going to say this. He's probably like, holy shit, Denver, shut up. But I'm telling you right now that this has to happen because it's all of you fighting on a specific battleground because this is a war. This isn't just a war of Republicans against Democrats or independents or anything. This is a war about the rule of law and about freaking decency. And that's why I think we're all
All right then. So we have talked about Trump, and you said that MAGA is like, they're like the boyfriend that says, if you can't have me, no one else will. Tell us about that mentality and how that drives what we're seeing.
Yeah, I mean, I remember, when Donald Trump started touting himself as, I am your retribution, when he was telling his supporters, his MAGA supporters in the lead up to, his second term in office during his candidacy, I took that to mean, one, I never thought he gave a shit about any of his supporters, and he doesn't. I think that that's a proven fact at this point. Two, he's not their retribution, he's his own retribution. And when I said it was on Anderson Cooper show, I said that Donald Trump is America's ex, and that he, if he can't have us, no one can. He is tearing down this country. He is destroying this country deliberately because he hates America and he hates Americans. And a nice sideline hustle of that is that he gets to enrich himself and enrich his family members and some of the people that he values not their friendships, but their allyships. And that's what it's all about. He's destroying this country from inside, and he does it because he hates democracy, he hates freedom, he hates everything that we were all raised to love about this country. He hates it.
He doesn't like dogs, that's what I see. You don't like dogs, that's it. Okay, from your perspective, Lauren, we talked about police, and I love when I asked Lauren to join, she goes, oh, I know police officers. I've been around, my father's a police officer, correct? So when we talk about that, from that perspective of that day, and you're a former Trump supporter, you write that in your book called Line, and not that feeling of, what did you feel like your brothers in the army, the police that surrounded you, or not, like where is that now when you look at, and we want to say, well, the police be here to protect us, so what's going on that level in the police department, or how you feel the fraternal order is right now? Do you feel support from them? Do you feel not supported? Do you want to not go there? But I'm just interested when we think about who's going to protect us.
I mean, I'll be completely honest with you. I don't have a single solitary police officer in my circle of friends. Not one. I haven't spoken to any members of the Metropolitan Police Department outside of people who've called me just to discuss, internal issues that they, want me to shed light on in years. To include, my former partners, people that I rode alongside with for 2 decades. And listen, I mean, there are a lot of police officers that I stood beside inside of that Lower West Terrace tunnel that still support Donald Trump to this very day.
What the hell?
And the reason is, first of all, you need to understand, law enforcement, and I have a great deal of admiration and respect for police officers. I do not have any admiration or respect for the institution of policing in this country. Because the institution of policing in this country takes good police officers like myself and it destroys them. People that come into the profession wanting to help, wanting to do good, it beats you down and it turns you into a cynical, angry fuck. And that's what it did to me. And I'm glad, I'm fortunate that I got out, before it completely destroyed my life. That being said, Donald Trump and this administration, they validate the worst inclinations of the law enforcement officer. They validate the implicit bias. They validate the overt bias. They tell you that using violence against American citizens is not only okay, but we want you to do it. When they spit, we hit. Stephen Miller went around to every single police district along with Pam Bondi, which is fucking insane to me. Stephen Miller and Pam Bondi going to local police districts in Washington, D.C., telling the officers exactly that. The gloves are off. We're going to back you to the hilt. We don't care what you do. Go out there and, and listen. The vast majority of them did not heed that, but we do have an agency or agencies in CBP and ICE that seem to have embraced that mentality wholeheartedly, and we're watching it play out across America's cities and streets, all across this country, targeting some of the most vulnerable communities.
I like to go to Denver when you hear that, and I know your brain is going, I know you. Because you've seen it coming, the QAnon, the kind of grooming, the gaslighting. You talk a lot about that. I'd like to kind of move into what you're hearing from Michael and to what people really need to understand where this country's going. Internationally, too. We have really big problems right now with our missiles all being spent. I mean, this is big. So what are you thinking right now when you hear all this? I know it's big.
My goodness, Iran would be a whole other panel. I promise I'll do that another time. Because I actually had to track Iranian resupply against our boys in Iraq back then, 2006, 2007. One of the first to track Soleimani back then. So if you guys want to talk Iran, happy to do it. But I definitely want to tell like a very specific story about when you're talking about what Mike went through and what we're seeing. Is that I guess I'm going to ask everybody out here.
Food cart.
Oh. I was like, somebody don't want to talk. We talk about polling, we talk about these political things, but when it comes down to it, it's person to person, it's house to house combat. And I've given some advice to people, and they're like, well, Denver, how do we confront the disinformation? Talk about QAnon. Why is the Republican Party now seen to be QAnon? A lot of people say that you don't hear that word much. But if you look at their belief systems, what is it still? 60 to 70% of Republicans believe the election was stolen, right? January 6th, and that's why it happened. So I was at this fundraiser for a school, and I'm sitting there, and I go, do you practice what you preach? I'm looking at everybody here. Are you afraid to be confrontational with somebody, compassionately confrontational with somebody, using facts if they tell you something so crazy about an individual or something about a circumstance that is not correct? So I'm going to give you a quick example. I was at a fundraiser for a private school that's fantastic. We're trying to do things for students that I really support. I was sitting across the table from a couple. The couple was very nice. They were very kind. But they sort of knew who I was. So anyway, we were talking about the alpha-gal tick-bite sickness. You guys aware of alpha-gal? Where you get bit by a tick, you can't eat mammal meat? Well, I have alpha-gal. I know it's pretty sad, especially for somebody from Virginia and West Virginia. Anyway, so I said, I think what's amazing is science and what it's doing in trying to identify these types of sicknesses. And it's something that I love science, I love technology. It's just something that I know I look like a rube, I am, but I do like technology. So this person says, well, I feel so bad for you because he goes, why don't you want to kill Bill Gates? What? So he said, the tick-borne viruses were actually funded by Bill Gates. And so, you do know this, right, Mike? I mean, you guys are aware. So anyhow, I'm sitting there and I feel my wife tense up like, oh no. And I looked at her and said, honey, Bill Gates. And she goes, no. She goes, honey, just, baby, please, just. So I said, I can't. So I said, could you tell me the source of where you actually got this information? Because I'm very interested, because that's the truth. I want to sue. Where did you get the source, right? And she's like, oh my God. Anyhow, I asked 5 or 6 questions, because usually I ask people where they got the information, what is the source of that information, and why did you come to the conclusion based on that information? That's what I did, and that's how I questioned him. And by the end of it, I felt sort of sorry for him, but he still believed 100% that Bill Gates not only funded COVID, but he also funded tick-borne illnesses, and they're funding stuff to destroy you, because that's what the globalists are trying to do to you as a population. That is a massive belief system throughout a majority of the far right. And I guess what I'm trying to tell you guys is, this isn't just about decency or policies or polling. It's about how brave you are, person to person, to confront in a very unnatural, uncomfortable environment. And I don't know if you've ever seen any of these individuals up here, but guess what they do? They confront in a very uncomfortable environment. I think that's my fear. My fear is that people actually aren't ready for what's coming. 2026, when you're looking at what's going on with how they want us to take the election, guys, and I'm not trying to make anybody angry out here, I promise, it's not satellites. It's not vote manipulation. It's process and intimidation is how they want to suppress votes. That's what they want to do. And how do I know this? Because I've seen more about the data on the propaganda on January 6th than anybody in the country and probably anybody in the world. I wrote the book on the data. And the data's still out there, the belief systems are out there. And the reason that they don't like you is they believe you're the enemy of something you can't see. They actually believe they're trying to protect you, and you're too stupid to realize that Bill Gates is funding tick-borne illnesses in a secret lab somewhere in Jubilee. Okay? You have to be brave. And again, my biggest fear is we're not seeing what's coming. You're not ready for what's coming, because 2026 you think is going to be bad, 2028 is going to be worse. That's the issues that we have. So when you're talking about conspiracy theories, disinformation, propaganda, those are the things you have to fight. You have to fight it when it's coming at you, and you have to fight it when it's in the room with you. And if you do that, I think you got a chance.
I do wonder, do you hear from your Republican friends some version of, we know this is crazy. We know that this is crazy, we know this is out of control, and we know we're about to probably lose power in January. Do you hear any of that from your friends?
Oh God, I love this question. I want to sing now. Yes. You guys know Don Bacon's getting out, Mike McCall, right? Good friend of mine is Adam Kinzinger, okay? So, I have people, I not only officiated the same-sex wedding, I've officiated other weddings also of sitting members of Congress in the Republican caucus are afraid to death to tell people I officiated their wedding. I officiated their wedding after the same-sex wedding, guys. They still ask me to do it. I know you guys are like, what is happening here? So here's the other thing too. On the far right now, really good MAG are people who are just trying to hold on to their seats. They don't really care about the citizens. They just care about winning. But they also know that Trump is off his rocker. And I have been in dinners at 2 o'clock in the morning, I'm sorry to say sipping bourbon, with Republican members of Congress that are sitting right now. I know exactly how they feel. And the thing is, if you guys can do it, if you guys, I'm sorry, I get excited now, but if you guys use facts, data, but you guys are tough, right? It's okay to be decent and still fight. It's okay to have respect and still rock and roll on somebody if they're telling you bullshit. It's okay. But what I'm telling you though is you've got to give a permission structure to the independents and the sort of the center-right independents to say sanity is coming back. And if you do that, if you just reach across, I'm telling you, and say, listen, I understand you think I'm a globalist that helped fund tick-borne illnesses. I get it. But I promise you it's not me. It was actually Stephen Miller. Stephen Miller.
Yeah.
They might believe you. But what I'm saying is, yes, it's out there. Mike does not have that same, and that's why it was sort of odd, you know, and sad to hear about Mike and his experience, is that there are Republicans right now sitting that wish like hell that Donald Trump was the president, and there are voters that are the same way. And that's why you see polling tightening up with independents, and independents starting to support Democratic candidates because they know what's up.
You know, I heard what you just said about not having any friends in law enforcement anymore. Well, when you were fighting downstairs, fighting for your life in the Capitol, James said my boyfriend was upstairs at the Senate chamber, escorting Mark and Tim out to the Hart Building, and he's got the same experience. All of his friends, and I'm friends with his friends, are Trump supporters. But do you think there's any space there? Like when we start really talking one-on-one, like Denver was talking about gas prices, about healthcare, I always remind these Republican cops, everything you've got in your life is because of the government. Your healthcare, your retirement, your TSP, everything. Do you think there's a space there when you talk? If you, I mean, you don't have obviously the same friends you had, but do you think there's a space of agreement on the common sense, bread and butter issues, particularly with regard to money?
Yeah, I mean, this is where I'm kind of like there's me on a personal level, and then, you know, Michael Fanone, the guy that advocates for accountability and the restoration of, you know, our republic. I completely recognize the fact, and I see, you know, in the past couple of months, you know, different things that are bringing people away from either out of MAGA or just out of supporting this administration. And there's issues like the Epstein files, there's issues like the Iran war, gas prices, you know, the economy, all of these things, people are starting to recognize, like, hey, listen, we were promised all of these different things, and Donald Trump's not delivering. And so, am I happy that that's happening? It's good for the Republic. It's good that people recognize the fact that this administration, you know, is not delivering, and hopefully they will vote accordingly in the midterm elections and the next presidential election. That's part of the kumbaya moment that has to happen in this country between Trump supporters, MAGA, and the rest of America. I will not be spearheading that effort. On a personal level, I don't want anything to do with people that voted for Donald Trump after January 6, 2008. I don't want them near me. I don't want them near my family. And that's just how I feel. I mean, it's a big country. You know, there's a lot of people here, and I recognize the fact. And I can be civil with a person that, you know, that did that. Don't waste your time trying to justify your support for this administration after Donald Trump incited an insurrection to me, because I don't give a fuck. I don't want to do it.
That's the kind of work that we need to hear. Thank you for that. You know, this is a big part of what, when they talk about democracy under pressure, I mean, it is under pressure. I don't think we're past that point, actually, when you think about the corruption, the slush fund. You know, we saw that January 6th slush fund. You see that they pardon those people. I mean, you can't just really you can't believe it's really happening in this country when you see that unraveling of justice. If you don't have accountability, and you have Todd Blanche. I'm just going to say Todd Blanche to Denver. Let's take it from there. Because that, for me, was the shoe that dropped so hard, because we were able to just pull some things back because people like Bill Barr wasn't able to go far enough. But from your inside look at stuff, we talk about corruption and what we're seeing, and the money and the crypto and how they're using it, and Putin and Russia. The oligarchy, I always tell the people, see what that is. You need to understand it, right? So speak to that.
So first of all, it's going to get worse before it gets worse. So, So when you're looking at top Blanche, when you look at the people that are being replaced in the administration now, think about the individuals that were before them and what you have to be to come after them. Again, just think about that very quickly. What is top Blanche? He is simply Trump's boy. That's it. There's no, you can't get around it. That's specifically what it is. When you're talking about where they're at as an administration right now, and I'm going to ask you guys to accept something, and you're not going to like it, but it's okay. You can yell at me afterwards. You're probably going to have to accept that the billions of dollars that the Trump family has made off of your wallets, taxpayers, and the corruptions, we're not going to be able to claw back. Hear me out. The problem that we have is they feel like they've already won. When you're talking about military-industrial complex contracts, these are multi-year contracts in the billions of dollars. And you're talking about Donald Trump Jr. getting a $620 million loan from the Office of Strategic Capital on a false valuation, right? That's given him because he's the son of Donald Trump. Those are things that you have to deal with. When you're talking about, right, the millions of dollars that Eric Trump just bragged about in the robotics contract, you got to think about that. You also have to think about the billions of dollars they're making because now they actually have invested in multiple drone companies. They pretty much own the complete supply chain. You guys want to look at Unusual Machines, Power Us, Extend, Red Cat. You also have to look at all their investments in Anduril, Palantir, right, and downstream all the Department of Defense companies that they have there. You also have to see that people, right, that were related to the Trump administration are now the only ones allowed to bring back Ukrainian technology for swarming technologies, people like Eric Prince. So what I'm telling you is while you guys are fighting to try to save our country and we're trying to save what we're doing, they already feel like they've won going into 26 and 28 because of the generational wealth that they've been able to actually procure based on this. Think about this, guys. Right after Eric Trump Jr.'s investment firm invested in Anduril, months later they got a $20 billion contract from the United States government. So when you're looking at timing and things of that nature, the thing that you're going to have to realize is this: how many fronts do you have energy to fight on? The first thing is to win. The first thing is to win. Second thing, do not expend your energy on things that we might not ever be able to get back. Because why do they want all this money? What are you really fighting for? You're thinking about this moment right now, but what are we fighting for? 28, 30, 32? Who's going to have the most money to pump into the Republican side of politics even after Trump isn't president? The Trump family. This is what you're fighting. It's the downward effects of massive generational corruption. And I guess what I'm asking you guys is, keep your eye on the target initially. Keep your eye on the target. Look at what's going on in Virginia. Let's capture Virginia, right? Let's do that, okay? Do your thing. But it's going to be very, very difficult to call back that generational wealth. That's the fight you guys have. It ain't coming back. Our institutions have been proven to be weak. Institutions are only as good as the people that are involved. So what you can do is look at a long-term plan, short-term win, long-term victory, where you put people in places in the institutions that maybe 10 years from now, maybe we do start to call back that money. So what I'm telling you, this is just the beginning of a massively long fight to reclaim the integrity of institutions of the United States of America. So make sure you keep your specific target in your view, and then make sure you know that the right people in there can turn the tide, maybe even on the corruption of the Trump family.
I totally agree with Emily, and I think that for me that's like one of the hardest parts to keep reminding myself is that this is a marathon, not a sprint. And then obviously my motivations, as to why I'm involved in this fight. And I recognize that, especially, there are a lot of things that I'm involved in, accountability, not just for January 6th, but for all the criminal corruption that this administration has done. And also, what David spoke to, this administration has shown a light on how weak our institutions are in this country, and how really fragile democracy is in the United States. And shoring up those institutions and making sure that this doesn't happen again. That's kind of my lane. And I recognize that many of those things may never come to fruition in my lifetime. But and I saw this plastic when I was sitting at the table over there, and my daughter, one of my daughters is here. Piper, stand up, Piper. It says, vote for your daughter. And that's why, like, when people ask me, like, why are you still doing this? I'm doing it for my $4. Just like Denver, I like to spend time in America's wild and wonderful places. So fuck these data centers. But like the first thing I ever learned going outdoors is you leave it better than you found it.
Yep.
And so, like, I'll be damned if I don't leave this country better than I found it for my kids.
Denver, are you saying that it's gonna get worse because you can't find any Democrats that fight like Republicans? Because, I mean, all of this happened really quickly. I mean, all of this Trump stuff happened in what, 2 years? Like, he's just told me. Why do you assume that a Democrat can't come along and basically play like Donald Trump to reverse what he did? You don't think that's possible?
That's a great question. I think our time is up, but I want to.
We have 1 more minute, but you can
We have one
answer.
more minute. Right now, I've been behind the door. You guys know the Trump administration. I met with Trump in the White House. I've met with Biden. Right? I've had this fortunate thing where I've been able to meet both presidents in a sort of in an intimate way, really politically. As you guys know, I did the forensics on Hunter Biden's laptops and things like that also. Here's the thing that I see. The Republicans are always aligned on a specific purpose, regardless of what that objective is. What I saw behind the door of the J6 committee was not the case. It seemed like some of the political or some of the purity things that they needed to get through actually trumped the ability to win. So I would humbly submit this from somebody who's been in both the rooms. It's time to get tough, right? But you got to align your mission, and nobody's going to be 100% aligned with you. I would guarantee everybody in the last 30 seconds here that you're not 100% aligned with me. You might not be 100% aligned with anybody here, and if you are, I would question you, because I'm a little, you don't want to be 100% aligned with me, and I don't want to be 100% aligned with you, because that's America, right? We were built on compromise. So here's the thing that I would like to tell you guys, right? But if you find that person who's at least willing to support the institutions of democracy, at least willing to care about the rule of law, cares about this man, and these individuals up here, cares about you, and somebody who's going to tell you the truth to your face, even if it's uncomfortable, yeah, vote for that person, right? And vote for that person. And if you can't find yourself to do that, and you're like, well, I'm just going to withdraw my vote, or I'm not going to be that person to do that, if you're that person, you lose.
I just want to, that's a great point, obviously, that Denver made. And prime example of that to me, a friend of mine, Alex Vindman, ran for Congress in Florida. And he lost. Alex Vindman is a patriot and embodies absolutely everything that you would want in a public servant. All of the honor and integrity that anyone could muster up exists, is embodied within that man. And when he lost, he conceded immediately, and he threw the entirety of his war chest, I think $17 million, behind a grassroots candidate whose platform was very different from his. And that's what it's going to take to win. People don't necessarily completely aligned on every issue, recognizing he could have held on to that money. He could have turned it into a PAC like so many motherfuckers do. He understands what's at stake. And that's what we need in this coalition, this big tent, fighting for democracy and for our republic.
Deborah Bowman and Michael Fernandez for your honest honesty, for being here today. I feel really the emotion. I also will say that what the joy that it is that when I hear Denver is really great as a podcast, follow him. It's on Substack, Denver After Dark. You never know where he's beaming in from, a spaceship sometimes. And support Michael by his book. That's one way I hold the line. Keep holding the line, you have a line with goals, and that, I think it's like 9/11. They can't erase what happened on January 6th, so we will not stop talking about it because it really calls attention to the corruption, to the QAnon, the gaslighting conspiracy, and the control they have over people. We need to keep it alive. And I just want to thank you for making the drive-in, both of you. Let's give a big round of applause.